As people around the world head to the Vatican to pay their respects to the Pope, of course, I, on behalf of the State Department, want to take another moment to convey our deepest condolences following the passage of His Holiness Pope Francis. Secretary Rubio is united in prayer with Catholics worldwide during this period of transition for the Catholic Church. We join Catholics around the globe in mourning his passing and giving thanks for his life and service. Trump administration's America First border security strategy is delivering real results. As Secretary Rubio has noted, we are now seeing the most secure border we've had. In March 2025, illegal crossings at the southwest border dropped by 94% compared to March of last year. Likewise, in the Darien, a key transit point for those intending to illegally immigrate to the United States, crossings fell by an extraordinary 99.5% over the same period. Those results reflect sound policy and strong leadership, the leadership of President Trump. He has implemented a policy that has combined strong U.S. enforcement, strategic communication with the regional partners, and clear deterrence.
So since that attack, India has blamed Pakistan for being, for having some connection to the attackers. I wonder, does the U.S. have sort of more reaction to that? Do you see Pakistan as potentially being behind this, and are you playing any role in diplomacy to try and cool tensions between the two countries?
Well, I put it in the topper, obviously, because it was a horrible situation. But at the same time, that's basically going to be the extent of the comments at this point. What I can tell you is, of course, as we all know, it's a rapidly changing situation. And we are monitoring it closely, as you might imagine. We, of course, are not now taking a position on the status of Kashmir or of Jammu either. So that's really going to be the extent of what I can say today.
I want to raise the question of Crimea because the U.S. position, as was outlined by Vice President Vance, indicates that the U.S. proposal does indicate that Russia would retain sovereignty over Crimea and other territories. It was just a few years ago that former Senator Rubio co-sponsored legislation that would prevent Russia from ever having sovereignty over Crimea because of its origins. Can you explain what has changed that has made the Secretary think that this is a balanced offer and a proposal that Mr. Zelensky and Ukraine should accept?
I've said before, I'll say again, even to you, that we can't negotiate this. It's certainly not going to be negotiated in this room.
Now it's on the record from the Vice President when in India he...
he's the Vice President and making a statement. It's not my job, nor will I parse his words or assign a meaning to them. What I do know, as I think as we all know, negotiations continue. There's a conversation that continues. That was the impression I was left with the conversation out of the Oval Office, is that both President Trump and Secretary Rubio were there. They engaged and answered questions about what's coming forward, what's possible. The President indicated he still thinks peace is possible. The Secretary has added, though, that if this is going to end, it's really going to take the two parties to make that decision. They're going to have to make that decision. Can I ask?
Secretary Rubio, he's chairman of the board of the Millennium Challenge Corporation. I'm wondering if he has an opinion on the elimination of the agency as memos are sent to staff in recent days.
So we are aware of reports of that. There are some cuts there. I will note that while the administration and the department has acted quickly in this regard, the review of Foreign Service remains ongoing across the other 22 U.S. departments and agencies that manage U.S. foreign assistance. But for specific questions regarding MCC, I would have to refer you to them.
On MCC, as chairman of the board of the MCC, was Secretary Rubio aware of and does he approve of what DOJ has done at MCC this week? The staff members and supporters say that all the contracts have been ordered terminated. And as chairman of the board, is he going to approve the termination of all the contracts?
I know that Secretary Rubio has been involved in the steps regarding all of the foreign aid review. He's not just an active Secretary of State, but he's an involved Secretary of State. Our policies here, of course, are a reflection of his commitment to maintaining life-saving aid. That is a reflection of America's interests. So while I can't speak directly to each individual decision, and I would not, the fact of the matter is, again, this is a decision that was made based on those values and the application of them that President Trump has advised and his vision has directed, and of course that Secretary Rubio also approves of and has also applied. I would argue that this is a DOGE dynamic. I think, as we mentioned on Tuesday, as we talked about the restructuring of the State Department, that the American people voted in President Trump to make changes. We've, of course, know that the budget of the United States, the debt, the way it operates is unsustainable. And so the State Department and other departments are also changing. But that dynamic is now, it sits with the secretaries. It sits with the heads of the departments of the country. So when we think about the changes that will continue to be made here at State, whether it's a large reorganization or if it's a bureau that's affected, those are decisions that are made by people in the State Department that is overseen, of course, by Secretary Rubio. And it reflects the values and the intention that's been described for the last 100 days from this podium and by the Secretary himself.
The Iranians indicating that they want an interim agreement and not a comprehensive agreement. Is this something that you would entertain, or do you think that it is feasible in the next round of negotiation? And second, also they said that the U.S. seems to be in agreement of keeping some kind of a nuclear facilities for peaceful use. And is this also something that you endorse, or do you think that Iran should not have at all any kind of nuclear material that could have been developed, whether it's for peaceful or military use?
Well, there's been a very bright line about what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Not acceptable is having a nuclear weapon. That is the one bright line that has been feeding all of the activity. I can give you an update on, the ongoing talks, might give you a gauge here. The next round of talks are taking place on, we have a team, I guess it's the IAEA's plan is to send a team to Iran this week. The next round of talks will take place in Oman on Saturday and will be the first meeting of technical teams. We can also tell you that the Director of Policy Planning, Michael Anton, will in fact be heading the technical delegation. And yes, Special Envoy Witkoff also will be present. Obviously, I will not, and you know, that I will not discuss the details of any proposals, real or non-existent, discussions, negotiations, what one party says versus another. What I found, and I know it just sounds like rhetoric, but it's true, is that these are very detailed, person-to-person conversations about issues that affect millions of lives, and the things that get talked about on TV by people or pundits, of which I love pundits, I was one. It does not help or really shed any great light on the nature of what's going on, but what it can do sometimes is frighten people and put people in an even more heartbreaking, suffering situation. So I understand that, and that's why I'm reticent, because also there's other countries and people involved, and there's something it's important to not say things that can be misinterpreted. And we are determined to not do that, considering what's happening around the world. But what we do know is clear, and we've been, I think, as transparent as possible. Talks are ongoing. As a matter of fact, they continue to be positive and constructive, I can tell you. So we've made good progress, and we have a long way to go. And so these things go on. As we've seen, sometimes they can change. But that's as much as I can give you.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir being in America, attending a dinner at President Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort, where senior Republican officials were there as well. He said that the U.S. approves bombing food and aid depots in Gaza. Is this true? Is this endorsed by the Trump administration? And where does the United States stand on this?
You know, that was, I believe, one report. It was something that he said on his own that has not been confirmed or discussed or anything that is relevant for me to be able to comment on that. It is, of course, in complete contradiction to the nature of our commitment to getting food aid and assistance. And my goodness, the work over these 100 days for that first ceasefire and to get that aid into that area, it's difficult. But that dynamic, I think, is not something that I certainly am going to expand upon with one report, comments from one individual. But what I will do is reiterate, certainly our commitment to Israel, our commitment to creating a better framework in Gaza, stopping the slaughter, getting aid and food in. That has been a North Star for this administration, for Trump and for Rubio from the beginning, and for, I think, people everywhere for generations. All right.
In his first term, President Trump offered to mediate between India and Pakistan on the issue of Indian-occupied Kashmir. I know you just said that this administration has no position on Kashmir right now, but there's too much tension on the
I'm not
border.
going to be remarking, sir. As I mentioned, I appreciate this, and perhaps we'll come back to you with another subject. I will say nothing more on that situation. The President and the Secretary have said things, as have the Deputy Secretary. They've made their positions clear. I will not continue with something in that manner.
Today, the Iraqi foreign minister is going to arrive in Washington, D.C., and in a post on X, he says that he's going to meet with the U.S. counterparts on speaking and talking about mutual security. And have you scheduled any meeting with him? This is the first part of my question. The second part, are there any impacts or implications of your talks with Iran on Iraq? I'm asking this because when it comes to Iraqi security, Iran is floating into the discussions. There's a lot of Iranian backup groups in Iraq, and you started the sanctions waiver to Iraq because they were buying electricity from Iran.
Well, I can tell you that the Iraqi Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, Dr. Fuad Hussein, will be here at the State Department tomorrow for various meetings. I will be in one of those meetings. As far as to the specifics of what will happen, I have nothing to preview for you at this time, but we will have readouts. So we will have some details of those meetings tomorrow.